Yes.
All right, I'm ready to call to order the Community Redevelopment Agency meeting for June 9th, 2020 at 7:02. We have roll call, please.
Mr. Drosky?
Here.
Mr. Hudak?
Here.
Mr. Preston?
Here.
Vice Chair Parnas?
Present.
Chair Gans?
Here. We'd everyone stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please, and Vice Chair Parnas, if you could please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Ms. Maury?
Thank you, Chair Gans. Actually, I'm going to defer to Anthony and ask that Anthony read the title of the first item for this evening.
Yeah, Ms. Maury, actually, before we do that, we have approval of the Community Redevelopment Agency agenda for tonight.
Oh.
If we can
So
get a motion
moved.
on that.
Motion to accept. Second.
We have a motion from Vice Chair Parnas, second from Mr. Preston. All in favor, say aye.
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 Those opposed? Okay.
Okay, great. Item number 1 is a resolution of the City of Deerfield Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving the appropriation of funds remaining in the Redevelopment Trust Fund to certain projects to be carried over, approving an amendment to the fiscal year 2019-2020 Community Redevelopment Agency budget and providing for an effective date.
Thank you, Anthony. This item is on our agenda every year following the publication of the CAFR. This is an audited amount. This is an administrative item meant to encourage greater transparency with the CRA and also a management tool for us as well, so that we can track how money comes in and out of the CRA. So let it be known that the CRA is carrying over $2,624,136 from fiscal year 19 to fiscal year 20. If there aren't any questions, I would ask that the board approve this resolution.
Okay, any commission comments or board comments, excuse me?
No.
Commissioner Drosky, do you have anything?
No, I do not, Mayor. I spoke separately with Chris on this before the meeting, so we went through the agenda and I don't have any questions.
Okay. All right, looking for a motion then to approve. Is there anyone from the public care to comment on this item? I don't see any hands raised. Madam Clerk, is there anybody who has written in?
No, we had no emails, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Motion to approve.
I'm going to close it to the public, and we have a motion from Vice Chair Parnas.
Motion to approve.
We're looking for a second.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, second from Mr. Hudak.
All right, we have a second from Mr. Hudak. All in favor say, roll call, please.
Mr. Drosky?
Yes.
Mr. Hudak?
Yes.
Mr. Preston?
Yes.
Vice Chair Parnas?
Yes.
Chair Gans?
Yes.
Item number 2 is a resolution of the City of Deerfield Beach Community Redevelopment Agency approving the Evaluation Committee's ranking of responses pursuant to request for qualifications number 20-27-PC for architectural services for the Sullivan Park facility, authorizing the CRA director to commence contract negotiations with Bermello, Ajamil and Partners, Inc., the top-ranked firm, provided for severability and an effective date.
Okay. Ms. Maury?
Thank you, Chair Gans. Thank you, Anthony. This item is a follow-up from the last action on the Sullivan Park facility project. In your backup, it is the purchasing memo outlining the entire process that went through to arrive at this ranking. We received 10 responses from qualified firms seeking to work with us on this project. So there was significant interest, from design firms. The evaluation committee consisted of 5 individuals, 4 from city staff, including engineering, parks and recreation, planning, myself. And then we also invited Eric Westberg from the Broward County Parks and Recreation Department to sit on the evaluation committee as well. So with those 5 people reviewing, we thought we had a really good eyes on the project from all sorts of different perspectives. You can see in the report that the #1 ranked firm was, as Mr. Soroka just indicated, Bermea Ahamil. If the board approves of that ranking, we'd ask that you make a motion and approve them, and then direct me to move forward with negotiating a contract, which would be their fees for the scope of services for the design of this facility.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Grosky, see your hand raised?
I just have one question for Chris, and I did go through this with her before the meeting, and we did discuss this agenda item, but I did not ask her this question, so I'm kind of putting you on the spot a little bit, Chris, and I apologize for that. But if I'm a commission member or board member in this case, or a member from the public, and I want to view the non-winning bids, how do I do that? And that goes for not just, what we do in the CRA, but for the commission too. There's a lot of these, bids that we go through. And I think just for transparency, if someone from the public wanted to review all of the other information, and I understand you can't post everything because it's extremely voluminous. I mean, it would be probably over 1,000 pages easily for this particular item, if not more. But if somebody wanted to, how would they do that?
Board Member Drosky, if you don't mind, Evelsa Guzman is on this meeting. I've unmuted her. Maybe she could explain that to you. She's the Director of Purchasing and Procurement. And so she would have a better response than I would on that particular question.
Absolutely, Ms. Maury. Good evening. I want to say mayor and commissioners, but that's not the proper term in this setting. My name is Evelsa Guzman. I'm the purchasing manager. As you know, Commissioner Drosky, the volume of documents that's created once we do a solicitation, as you said, is a very large volume. And hence, what we've done is if anyone wants a copy of the responses, they can submit a public records request, or they can email the procurement department directly, and we'll be happy to provide those documentations for them.
Okay, I would just add, doing a public records request for a public meeting, seems a little. I mean, would we get I just want to ensure that if somebody requested, they get the information in time, to be able to review it and study and to prepare. That's all. I don't think it happens frequently, but I just want to let people know that the option is there.
Absolutely. I want to ensure you that once you receive a request for records, we quickly comply with that request.
Mr. Santucci?
Yes, thank you.
I'm sorry, Chair or Board Member Drosky, is there any other further questions?
No, that's it. Otherwise, I read the backup. I have no other questions.
Thank you. Mr. Santucci?
Thank you. And I just want to give a little bit more detail into that. And thank you, Ms. Guzman. So aside from it being a large volume of documents, all the documents that we put on the agenda must be ADA compliant. And the level of effort that is required to get these documents into ADA compliancy can take sometimes 8 to 16 hours worth of work with large scale documents. So when you're talking about bid documents that have could have design plans and that sort of thing, it simply is not feasible to include them in the agenda backup all the time. And as Ms. Guzman said, we do have those readily available within the purchasing department, and they're already PDF documents. We get the request. Typically, it's less than a 24-hour turnaround time. to provide that documentation to anyone, including anyone from the public, staff, or of course, the city commission.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Santucci. Board Member Parnas?
Yes, I have a question. Maybe somebody can answer. When we put bids out of this size, are they public openings where the public is invited to see the openings and the reading of the bids?
Yes, Commissioner Parnas, the evaluation committee was a public meeting. Anyone interested could have joined. We did have people, mostly people that were representing the consulting firms joined, but any
Okay.
member of the public could have participated in that.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any other questions from the public? I don't see anybody that has their hand raised. Is there anybody who's written in on this item?
No, there's no emails, Chair.
Okay, I'm going to close this to the public then, board.
Motion
make-
to approve.
Second,
We have a motion from Mr. Hudak, second from Vice Chair Parnas. All in favor, roll call on this, please.
Mr. Drosky,
Yes?
Mr. Hudak,
Yes.
Mr. Preston? Is that a yes, Mr. Preston? I'm sorry, you're muted.
I can't unmute him either.
You want to give a thumbs up? Thumbs down? Vice Chair Parnas,
yes.
Chair Gans.
Yes.
And for the record, I believe Mr. Preston voted thumbs up, yes.
Mhm.
Is that right, Mr. Preston? Yes, he's giving his thumbs up again. Okay, great.
Perfect.
All right,
Thank
the
you.
next item is public comment, public input. Anyone wishing to speak can speak to up to 3 minutes and may request from the chair an additional minute to speak. As a reminder, this is the portion of the meeting to ask for public or to have your public comments about non-agenda items. The time to ask about or speak to agenda items was when those agenda items were called, and nothing that would offend ordinary sensibilities or direct remarks about the individual capacity of the board or anybody. And Madam Clerk, if you can give any instruction, anybody who called in, how they go about raising their hand if they called in or otherwise if they would like to speak. Appreciate it.
Sure. If you called in via telephone, if you would like to speak, press *9 and your hand will be raised. If you videoed in, please raise your hand. It's located on the bottom of the participants tab. Thank you.
I don't see anybody that has their hand raised. Is anybody you've written in via email that would like to speak at this time?
No, Chair Gans, we did not receive any emails.
Okay, I'm going to close it to the public at this point.
We are now at administration comments. And item number 3 is the May 2020 change order report.
Thank you, Anthony. Again, for the board's information, I'm required to report to you change orders that occur in relationship to construction projects. Excuse me. And as you can see, these are all change orders associated with either the Kirk Cottrell Pavilion. All of them are unforeseen conditions. And the A1A crosswalk project. The A1A crosswalk project is not a monetary change. It's actually just a change in time due to delays in procuring materials due to the COVID virus.
Okay, thank you very much. Board, any comments? I'm open to the public. Is anybody from the public requested to speak on this, Madam Clerk?
No, I don't see any hands raised, nor were there any emails.
Excellent. I'm going to close it to the public then. Board? Nothing? Okay.
Require an action?
No.
Okay.
We're now at board comments. Oh, sorry, Mr. Chair.
No, I just want to make sure there were, that was accurate. There are no action items on this.
That's correct, Mayor.
Okay. Board comments. We'll start it with Mr. Hudak.
I'm just very, very impressed with the progress that's happening with the Carpenter Pavilion. So it's a great job, and hopefully we get that done. Everybody did great opening up the beach. So really, really pleased. Got a lot of positive feedback on all of that. So great job, Chris.
Thank you. Mr. Preston?
No comments.
Okay. Mr. Drosky?
I have nothing this evening. Thank you.
Vice Chair Parnas?
I'll pass, thank you.
Okay, I have no other comments, except I appreciate staff's work and everything they worked on here up to this point. I know it hasn't been easy, but I really greatly appreciate it.
Our pleasure, Mayor.
All
We
right,
need
we're looking
To close,
to adjourn.
yes, motion to adjourn.
Everybody stay safe.
Okay, I'll take that
Wait
as
a
a
minute, we
second,
need a
Mr.
second.
Preston.
A second. Okay.
All right, so Vice Chair Parnas, Mr. Preston is seconding it. All in favor of adjournment, say aye.
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 Those opposed?
See you next week.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it.
Thank you.